Welcome to the Total Soccer Show Weekend Review. In El Clasico, one team was more eager, and Real Madrid are now 5 points clear in La Liga. The game at the Bernabeu was a feisty affair in which Barcelona ultimately failed to show their flair. Vini Jr. wasn't happy at the end of this Spanish feud, but one man was, our Lord and Saviour, Jude. In the Premier League, Arsenal are now streets ahead as Liverpool and Man City both pooped the bed. At the start of the season, we all definitely foresaw that Sunderland and Bournemouth would be in the top four. Elsewhere in Italy, Napoli are back on top and Bayern Munich remain the cream of the continental crop. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, it's the Taylor Rocco. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. Are you more confused and surprised by Manchester United's recent run of form or by Bournemouth and Sunderland being in the top four? Both equally shocking.
One I like more than the other. Can you guess which?
Manchester United for sure. You're very excited about that. If past is precedent, I know how much you loved 1990s Manchester United and how thrilled you are that they might be good again.
I may or may not have placed a bet with my father-in-law that Ruben Amorim would be out of a job by December 31st, and that bet doesn't look like it's going to happen now. I'm not angry, just disappointed.
Give it time. Give it time. We'll see how things go.
It's true. It's a few more weeks. It's a long time in Manchester United world. That is true.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. We are also joined, Taylor, by Mr. Graham Ruthven, who was not at all confused by daylight savings changing in the UK and shortening our hours gap between the East Coast and Mr. Ruthven. Hello, Graham.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. Why are we still doing this in 2025? It really disrupted my pre-podcast recording. I'm like an elite level athlete. I have to, you know how Cristiano Ronaldo, before he takes a free kick and balloons it over the bar like he has done for the last 10 years, he does, a certain number of steps and takes the deep breaths. That's like me. I have to go for my walk at 2 o'clock before we record at 3 o'clock. And stupid time made that impossible to do. So
stupid time.
Who knows what we're going to get today? I'm going to do the podcast equivalent of ballooning it over the bar now.
Graham hates farmers confirmed. Graham and Joe, same page.
Wow.
Yeah, we are.
There we go. Sorry to hear that your hatred of the agricultural world, Graham, but did it mean you were like jacket sleeves on, you were going out the door and you were like, oh. No,
I was genuinely. I was like, I'll reply to some emails as I'm going for a walk. Oh no, I'm recording a podcast in 3 minutes time. So yeah, this could be anything to do.
I picture you on your walks, Graham, and I hope you take this in the way it's intended. You know that meme of Ben Affleck like standing outside the door with a cigarette going, is that like the tone of your walk?
It's that with a Vision Pro strapped to my face so I can get some more Danish second division games in.
I thought we'd established that whenever Graham walks anywhere, it's to the Arrested Development Charlie Brown sad music, and he just walks with his head down. No?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what's in my head.
As a Scottish tradition, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They actually play that. They play that out over the whole country. Actually, they've got big speakers.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wow.
Dun.
Sounds weirdly dystopian. Thank you very much for that image, Graham. Very good. We're going to get to the soccer now, but not before we say patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. That's a URL. If you put it into your device, you can find our bonus content. You'll get bonus episodes, including Weekend Review Extra. All the games we don't have time to review in this here block of time will go in Weekend Review Extra, including a lot of the Premier League games from this weekend and much more. You'll get bonus video content and access to our Discord server. All the cool kids are hanging out in there. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show, the best way to support us. Thank you very much indeed. All right, there was one big old game this weekend in Spain. El Clasico. Graham is literally rubbing his hands together in glee with good cause. Real Madrid 2, Barcelona 1. Perhaps a scoreline that doesn't reflect Real's performance in this one. As noted in the intro, they are 5 points ahead in the Liga now. 37 shots, 3 goals, 3 disallowed goals, 2 red cards. Real Madrid winning the Clasico for the first time in a minute as well. We had Kylian Mbappe with the opener, Ferman Lopez tying it up. And then the aforementioned Lord and Saviour, Sir Jude of Bellingham, with what turned out to be the eventual winner. Graham, we had a nice bad-tempered one here. 100th minute scrap in which the police had to get involved.
Yeah.
This is what we want from a Clasico, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Like, that was part of the reason why I thought this was one of the better Clásicos of recent years, is it felt like, for the first time since the Messi-Ronaldo era, the Messi-Ronaldo days, it felt like that needle was back. And these two teams, on this basis anyway, don't really like each other much. You had protagonists on both sides, and it was an entertaining game. that kind of went back and forth. I thought Real Madrid were largely deserving of their win. I was disappointed in what Barcelona offered up in this match. But the thing that elevated it for me, and maybe this makes me a proper football man, was that the tension was there. And it obviously spilled over at the end when Pedri was sent off. It seemed like Vinicius and Lunin squared up to some Barcelona players on the bench. Of course, you had the Vinicius tantrum as well in this game, which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah, there was a bit of a scrum, and as you say, Ryan, the police get involved, and they then formed a line between the two benches to finish the game. So, yeah, I love that, and I love how the commentators, every time you get something like this in a big game, they always trot out the line of, we don't want to see this. These are the scenes you don't want to see in these sort of matches. I very much do want to see these scenes, and this is what I'm watching for, and it just added to my overall enjoyment of this game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure which commentary team you had on your broadcast, Graham, but we had Ian Dark and Steve McManaman, whose man at the pub kind of thing they do was ratcheted up for this one. Like when a penalty was given, that's something else.
That's awful.
Oh, they were so disgusted. It was like the worst thing in the world had happened. Oh, the game's gone.
Oh,
it was terrible. Taylor, did you enjoy this?
I really did enjoy him. I don't always enjoy him, but when he doesn't really hide his frustration, like Ian Dark trying to do the now maybe from that angle we're seeing some contact the ball. We're not. There was none. Like he was so mad that penalty in the beginning.
Well, this referee clearly is an idiot. Was basically his tone throughout there. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he might have been up for the afters as well, and the scrum that came about. I think he was enjoying a lot of the chaos of this game, and it was a chaotic game. There were very confusing officiating decisions, in my opinion. There were strange goals, good goals, a good atmosphere, and pre-match trash talking that definitely influenced the tension on display. Lamine Yamal not having the best week, I have to say. He says some words on what Gerard Piqué's podcast / whatever league that they're in.
It was a young person thing, I think.
The Kings League, let's put some respect on its name. It's royal.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not. Yes, and it sounds like Real Madrid needed anything to post up in the locker rooms and create a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, and his comments about them being moaners and thieves or something like that did not go over well, it seems. Hence the you talk too much from both Carvajal and Vinicius, and the general Real Madrid vibe against Lamine Yamal.
Yeah. Carvajal, one of his international teammates, they have to play in the same team together in 2 weeks' time. So I'd be interested to see what that dressing room's like.
That is why international soccer's done. You're right, Graham. Please continue.
I mean, to be fair, the Clasico, that timeline that Graham was mentioning when it was Messi and Ronaldo and Madrid and Barca really hated each other, that definitely coincides with Spain not being good at international soccer, not winning any sort of silverware in consecutive ways or anything like that.
Yeah. So Graham, what were the keys to Real Madrid getting the win here? I think many felt that it could have been a higher scoreline for Real Madrid, arguably in this one. They seemed to master the Barcelona high line, which they hadn't done in the previous 4 or 5 Clásicos. And it seems like they've got remnants of a defence going on here, which helped them a little bit as well.
Yeah, so first of all, just to do kind of a quick overview of the match and the importance of it for Real Madrid, I always felt like this game was more important to them than Barcelona, and that's not to say it didn't matter to Barcelona, but we know this Barcelona team can win these games and win titles. Alonso's Real Madrid, they needed a statement result, and they got one in this game, and they deserved it. They were the stronger team for the majority of the match. They certainly created more chances over 90 minutes. I thought the pattern of the game was pretty consistent, and that pattern was Barcelona struggling to create through the middle against the Real Madrid 4-4-2 at possession. That would then also become a 5-4-1 in the low block. And then when they had the chance, Real Madrid went quick and direct into the attack. And what was interesting about that is it wasn't hugely different from the sort of thing we saw from Real Madrid under Ancelotti in these games. So it's not like we've really seen the Xabi Alonso process. We've been promised this... I don't know how to word it, this proactive, modern, front foot, possession-based team under Xabi Alonso. And I didn't really feel like we saw that in this match, but it was an effective game plan for them to use. And we saw a response from that Madrid derby earlier in the season where Real Madrid were overrun in that match. So Alonso's solution to that was to bring in another midfielder for this game, and that player was Camavinga, who played with Tchouaméni. Usually it's one or the other. Then they had Arda Güler and Bellingham in pretty central positions as well. Even if out of possession, it was Güler on the left and Bellingham on the right, they would kind of spread and when they didn't have the ball. But the plan was clearly to clog Barcelona and make the centre of the pitch congested, and I thought it worked pretty well for the most part.
Yep, I agree. I think defensively it worked really well. I think they really limited Barcelona's opportunities, especially in the first half. I haven't seen Barcelona look that non-threatening in quite some time. Even their goal, I would say, comes from nothing and is a great goal. They have moments where they are look like they're going to punish Real Madrid on the counter, Barcelona, but they only end up doing it the one time. And so I think Real Madrid's defensive game plan was pretty solid. And then I think the way in which they were able to shift into their attacking game plan also quite solid, because I think from everything Graham has said being correct, you could then have sort of players shift wide and make Barcelona really uncomfortable, because you would start to pull that back line apart, and they were trying to stay compact. They were trying to keep that high line. But as soon as you start to pull them out and open them up, there are just gaps there to be had. And especially with the kind of defensive 4-2-3-1, but at times a little bit lackluster in the pressing, it felt like there ended up being a lot of individual 1v1s and then a lot of space if those 1v1s were won. I would argue that's where the opening goal for Real Madrid comes from, is basically Bellingham turning out of pressure from Pedri and then having no one in front of him except for like a chasm of space to play into for Kylian Mbappe. So it felt like they got their attacking game plan right and the defensive game plan right, and that tends to mean you get the result you want.
Yeah, and just on Jude Bellingham, I thought this was so much more like it from him. He has faced some questions this season, and he's not the most sort of natural fit for an Alonso team. He's maybe not quite as nimble as he would like from a sort of attacking midfield player. But I thought the right-sided role in this game, it worked really well for him, right? And from there, he could keep his position in the 4-4-2 against the ball, but then on the ball he was getting into that right half space and coming inside, and that assist that you outlined there, Taylor, is brilliant, right? That's Bellingham at his best. The little drop off from the defender to create the space, the spin, the pirouette, and then the quick pass in behind, and then the goal, the winning goal as it proved to be, is again another part of Bellingham at his best, when he is getting into the box, crashing the box at the back post, which he does very often, and yeah, he really took a grip of this game for Real Madrid.
Yeah. Is that the third Clasico winner he scored? I know he scored at least one other. I'm sure there's been a few before as well. That
sounds about right.
Player. Yeah, definitely. Well done to him. Hansi Flick, Graham, up in the stands for this one for previous infractions of the rules. What do we make of the way what Hansi did in this game, or what he didn't do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should mention the number of players that they've got out injured at the moment, Barcelona. So no Robert Lewandowski, no Dani Olmo, no, crucially, I think, even more crucially than Lewandowski, Rafinha. I think if there's one thing we've learned over the last few weeks, he is so important to this Barcelona team. And that's not to say that Rashford was bad in this game. In fact, his assist for the equaliser was nice and decisive play from him in the final third. But there was just... I mean, I actually didn't think the biggest issue with Barcelona's performance in this game was like anything tactical or their setup. I just thought they were really off it. Like, it was way too slack with like their touches and Real Madrid, they wanted to make it scrappy, but Barcelona at their best ping it around them, and they just weren't at their best in this game. And I was struck by the lack of movement ahead of the ball. It was just all a bit static, and there were moments where I felt like they needed a run in behind, and even if the ball doesn't make it through, that maybe like pulls a defender away from the middle and you win the second ball. And I was just generally really disappointed by Barcelona, and their changes were weird as well on the 74th minute. So those changes are Ferran Torres and Garcia coming off, Casado and Ronald Araujo coming on. I don't really know what, maybe Taylor's got an insight that I don't have. I don't know what the plan was with those changes, and the Barcelona players themselves looked confused. Frankie de Jong coming over to the touchline and like screaming at the bench of, what's the shape? What are we doing here? And I think Rashford was moved to centre forward, and then Fermin Lopez moved out wide, but it just didn't make any impact on the dynamic of the game. So a bit of a mess of a performance on the whole from Barca.
And they had Diego Cocan sitting there the whole time. That would have been the change that would have changed everything. Graham, the only thing I can figure, to your point about Barca just looking a little slack, a little bit like not up to the speed, certainly the injuries, and that cannot be overstated, understated, whatever it is. It's very important to know that all three of those players are critical. I did enjoy Rafinha sprinting a good 30 yards to get into the fracas at the end. Maybe that thigh injury was like 95% fit, and they just didn't want to push it. But he was in there. He was jumping around. But I also wonder if maybe the way this game starts is part of why Barcelona found it hard to get into any sort of a rhythm for at least the first 30 minutes or so, because you have, the second minute, there's the Camavinga giveaway that almost gives Barcelona the lead, but then there's the Vinicius penalty that isn't a penalty in the end, but you have a long VAR break, but it feels like Real Madrid have the momentum. Then there's the goal in the 12th minute that is chalked off for reasons that I don't fully understand. Even if they are technically correct, they still seem very confusing to me. But it just felt like there's big stoppages as you have to do the review and you have to take your time. But both of those are kind of Real Madrid in control, pressing, creating uncertainty. And I just think Barca really weren't able to slow the game down, calm the game down, and play the way they wanted to. And then you end up with the Mbappe first goal, or the first goal for Real Madrid in the 22nd minute. And it just seemed like they were sort of, if not overwhelmed, then really struggling to keep up and make their game plan work. And Real Madrid, by contrast, were not.
Graham, you mentioned Vinny Jr. being subbed off and going straight down the tunnel, not super happy about that situation. We had Steve McManaman saying, words to the effect of, that would have never had happened when I played for Real Madrid. I played for Real Madrid, by the way. And then did we have... So Eric Garcia goes off around the same time, but both are involved in the 100th minute scrap. So did they both sort of re-emerge? Like, did Vinny come back up the tunnel and say, wait, the bat signal's gone up. I'm needed for this.
I think he got a shout because he was definitely, they cut to him sitting on the bench at one point when they're showing Xavi Alonso coaching while sitting down and talking to his assistants, but you can see Vinny sat behind him still looking a little bit sulky, but with an air of like, that might have been too much earlier. I might have been running a little bit hot. Maybe I made a mistake here. Somebody came into the tunnel and said, you need to get back on that bench or there's going to be problems.
The only thing more embarrassing is going down the tunnel prematurely like that is having to come back up it, I would suggest. That was an embarrassing walk he had to make there.
Unless he tried to sell it. Unless he was like, oh no, I was mad at my calf. I needed some ice. I don't know. Like, you could try to sell it. I'm glad he didn't.
I just needed to check my messages in my locker.
Exactly.
That was
it.
Yeah.
It's a bad look though, right, from Vinicius, particularly when they're winning the game. And yeah, he was playing well, but he wasn't turning in the kind of individual performance that made it seem outrageous that Alonso would want to. And he gets replaced by Rodrigo. It's like you're taking off one world-class player for another. So, and the report from Marca today is that he was shouting to Alonso that he's going to leave this club. That's me leaving now, or something, words to that effect. So it just feels like with Vinicius, even when he plays like this in a match like this, there's a underlying disgruntlement that certainly bubbled over in this moment.
Genuinely, all I can picture is Powers Booth from Tombstone and that gif that I'm sure people have seen of Vinicius yelling that at Xabi Alonso and Xabi Alonso on the sidelines just going, well, bye. like I don't know. Fair enough, man. See you later. We're going to get a lot of money for you and we'll reinvest it on, I don't know, Granit Xhaka and Alex Grimaldo and we'll be just fine.
There you go. Graham, I know the three words Powers, Booth, and Tombstone. Do you know what they mean in context here? I don't, I'm afraid.
Go watch the movie Tombstone.
Okay.
A movie with a director and then maybe another director and then also seemingly directed by cocaine.
Amen.
It is. No one on that production was saying, do less. There was a lot more. Maybe try it more intense. Ratchet the energy up a little bit more.
A lot like this Clasico then in a way, Taylor.
A bit, yes. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Feels like... I don't know if it went away, but it feels like Clasico's back with this one. Is that fair to say, like, this one was what we needed? It was the elixir that the Liga needed, arguably.
So I feel like Lamine Yamal has had a ridiculous rise. We've talked about it. I think that has maybe made him a little arrogant, but also, like, who wouldn't be? To be his age, to be in the position he's in, to have won what he has won. And I think he is now Barca's highest earner, right?
Yeah.
With
$650 a week, I think he's on.
Yeah, and so like I'm not setting that up to be like, and so it's his fault. But I think, as with most celebrities, whomever they may be, there is that moment when people seem to kind of be waiting for them to make the mistake, to be like, haha, they're mortal, like they can do things wrong. And with Real Madrid, it felt like in particular, those players were sort of waiting for Lamine Yamal to kind of put a foot out of line. And I think he did that with those comments. And they're relatively innocuous. I think they were delivered, from what I saw of them, my Spanish is limited, obviously, they seemed very tongue-in-cheek. He seemed to know what he was doing. He was like, like last time, like 4-0, I think, maybe? Like, you could tell he's needling, but it's not as though he was in there bashing Real Madrid and bashing their players or anything like that. But you have to know that ahead of a Clasico, everybody tends to be silent. Like the Pep Jose days, I don't remember a single player ever speaking out of school before those games. The talking happened on the pitch and then after the game, but never before. because you kind of fan the flames a little bit and you ratchet up that intensity. And I think if you're going to do that, you then have to back it up. And I felt like it was a quiet game from Lamine Yamal that ended in a frustrating game for him. Hence, it concluding with him saying, like, meet me in the tunnel. I don't know if I trust Lamine Yamal to square up to most players at Real Madrid. Maybe Vinicius Lamine Yamal would be the kind of, like, chicken fight, slap fight that we would expect it to be. But it did seem like his comments and the frustration that maybe Madrid supporters have felt towards him and the hype he gets and the attention he gets maybe is a big reason why there was so much animosity in this game.
He didn't have a good game either. Like, you would have thought up against Carreras, he would have had more joy at driving at him. And that was the gamble, that was the risk of the Real Madrid strategy, as if if Barcelona are effective in those wide areas, that's still enough for them to crack open the game, and they weren't able to do that. I'm still reeling from the fact, I missed that he's on £650,000 a week. I'm now envisaging, from The Simpsons, there'll be no hospital, I'll tell the children. That's what happened at the Camp Nou when he signed that contract. I'll tell the workers there'll be no stadium.
Yeah.
Have we?
Then they had a money fight.
I know Graham has expressed, like, I don't want to make this a full-on Lamine Yamal episode. However, Graham has expressed some concern about kind of the way he is going, I believe, and then also some of the influences in his life. I've just sent a photo to the Weekend Review Slack. Have you seen the mural his dad commissioned? Because it is insane in a number of ways. Love that his dad put himself, like, more in the foreground than Lamine Yamal, his, like, world-conquering son. And then I believe the quote underneath that you cannot see is like father, like son, or something like that. Like, it's very self-aggrandizing. I believe I also read rumors or reports that Lamine Yamal's mother is charging for people to have lunch with her where they can learn about her secrets of raising Lamine Yamal. Again, a lot of this might be apocryphal, as were the stories that he was charging for autographs, but I think it paints the picture of a lot of turbulence for him and for Barcelona that he'll probably navigate just fine. He's very young. He's got a lot of good people around him in terms of the club and Hansi Flick and the like, but it's still a distraction for sure.
Is Lamine Yamal's dad the first Nepo grown up?
I mean, Neymar's dad would like a word, but sure.
That's true.
Beat him to it. Yeah, looking at that mural, one particular part of his dad is more in the forefront than the others. I don't know who did him dirty with Brendan Rodgers' teeth, but
That's some good dental work.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Those veneers weren't cheap. Let's show them off.
Wonderful stuff. There we go. A very eventful Clasico. I like the fact that you made a very good point, Taylor, that the players used to stay silent and let the soccer do the talking on the field. But then again, back then they didn't have the platform that the Kings League is for them to make such comments. So,
man.
Times have changed.
I did enjoy Rafinha, I think, saying after the game, like, they all did a really good job, Barcelona, of pretty clearly showing that they were not pleased with what Lamine Yamal said, but not throwing him under the bus, but being like, yeah, he knows what he did. Now he's got to, like, learn to perform, and he's got to, like, learn from the situation and improve. But I especially enjoyed Barca and Brazil supporters pointing out that Rafinha was one of those people to talk about that, and Rafinha himself got baited into talking about how bad Argentina were by Romario on his podcast. And then Argentina heard that and went out and, like, stomped Brazil in World Cup qualifying. So Rafinha himself, no stranger to letting some pregame trash talk end up having negative impacts.
Yeah, don't let new media pre-match
This
trash
is the
talk
answer.
cloud
Yes.
your games. There we go. Moral of the story of this Clasico. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to the Premier League and a few very big results there. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the weekend review. Let's turn our attention to the Premier League, a potentially big weekend for the title race. Oh, sounds like I work for NBC, doesn't it? The Premier League top three as we come out of this weekend. Number 1, Arsenal. Number 2, Bournemouth. Number 3, Sunderland. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what we're all expecting. Arsenal, I know you've been in this position before at this time of year, but if you don't win it this year, I don't know what to tell you, honestly.
Like, it's great, right? It's objectively fun that you have Bournemouth doing what they're doing, Sunderland doing what they're doing, big clubs dropping points all over the place to each other, but also to quote-unquote smaller clubs. Like, this weekend was a great advertisement for the Premier League, in my opinion, because not just because Manchester United win, though that definitely helps, but that, like, Arsenal, like, ground their way past a Crystal Palace team that you could tell meant a lot to Mikel Arteta, that they ended up getting the result that they did, even if it's just 1-0. But it's fun to have a little bit of chaos and a little bit of confusion in the table. I hope it continues instead of things just rounding out and we get the same old top four that we've come to expect.
Yeah, indeed. It is. You're quite right. A very good advert for the parity throughout the Premier League. Speaking of which, why don't we go...
Relative parity. Relative parity.
It's all relative, yeah. There's more parity than other European leagues, one would argue. Case in point, Brentford 3, Liverpool 2. Deserved win for Brentford, this was, as well. And a fourth consecutive league defeat for Liverpool. Boy, Graham, we thought that European victory midweek was a turning point, potentially. Maybe not.
Yeah, just before we address Liverpool from this game, I want to make sure that we praise Brentford first and foremost, because I can't remember if I had them in my bottom three, but I know I was really pretty negative on their chances. Like, I thought they were going to face a relegation fight.
We all agreed in the previews of this before the season that Keith Andrews was the right appointment for Brentford, I think, and we said that he will carry on the narrative thread of Thomas Frank and they will go on having massive success. That's how I remember it.
Such lovely hair, Keith Andrews. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of him as a manager, but Brentford are just such a well-run club that it almost feels like they could put me in charge and they would still somehow move forward. But I was pretty negative on their chances before the start of the season, and they have been very impressive. And in this game, they did so much to unsettle Liverpool, and it was the sort of thing that it wasn't a one-off. We've seen them do this to other teams this season. There were the long throws, which is how. By the way, soccer at the moment, it feels like there's not a lot of actual soccer happening. It's just long throws and set pieces. They found the glitch in the game after 150 years, and this is it. And
when they start policing foul throws on long throws, that trend is going to go away. Because I feel like half the long throws I see are technically foul throws, but no one ever calls them as such. And maybe, I don't know, when enough Premier League clubs start to complain about, like, hey, this club keeps scoring on us from long throws, can you do something? Then maybe the league will step in.
So to say, Graham, like there is this argument that the NFLification of the Premier League, where it is all set pieces and it is all those kind of things, it is something that is borne out in a result like this, right?
Yeah, it's how Brentford scored the first goal in this game. So maybe when they start stamping out those foul throws, that's when they are going to get relegated, and my pre-season prediction will come true. But yeah, in this game, Liverpool didn't deal with it well at all. I joked about it after the Champions League review last week, but this was always going to be a challenge for Liverpool to defend those. It's been something in the Manchester United game as well. They struggled to defend those direct attacks. And Brentford had plenty of those as well. They were quick into the attack. They got numbers forward when they could. That was an issue for Liverpool in defensive transition, so they exposed that weakness as well. And the player who epitomised everything that I've just mentioned there and was the best player on the pitch was Michael Coyote, the right back, but actually wasn't really at right back for a lot of this game because he was absolutely everywhere. He was bursting through the middle. He was on the left side. He was getting in behind. He was absolutely brilliant in this game and just had the sort of energy and I don't know, like conviction that Liverpool never had at any point of this match. This is becoming really concerning for them. Like, Man City collapsed last season. They never lost 4 league games in a row in the way that Liverpool have now. So I don't really know where this ends for them. I've seen articles as that their title defence over already. Honestly, it might well be, and I did not see that coming like a month ago when I thought they might just run away with the title.
I don't think it is, for reasons we've already outlined. Of like the Premier League, I think is more competitive, more money going around. I think Arsenal will drop points at some point, or we'll run into some more injury issues, and things will even out potentially. But I would say for Brentford, 2 points here. First one for Brentford. I think I'm continuously struck by how often they just do not seem intimidated by an opponent, and I think when you're playing this Liverpool team who've spent all this money and have been so good in seasons past, it would be easy to feel a little bit nervous by the occasion, even if you've played them before, even if you've beaten them before. And I think that goes for a number of different teams that Brentford have faced and beaten. They just always seem to play their game. They always seem to be very confident in their game plan and sort of unconcerned by who their opponent is, regardless of that quality or the money on hand. And then I think they end up continuing to find role players who can be not just role players, but incredibly skillful and important role players. Mikel Damsgaard is a prime example of that. The ball he plays for the second goal, I believe, is just unreal. And he has like 1 or 2 of these a game. Sometimes it's a shot that no one saw coming. Sometimes it's an assist that splits like 4 different defenders. But he's a name that I feel like no one ever really talks about, never gets a ton of hype, never gets a ton of coverage, but should, because he's just electric for this team. And that's so many different players for this Brentford side.
Yeah, he's a hair transplant away from a £50 million move in January.
That's the thing. The second piece of credit I would like to give is to Graham Ruthven, who I think in last week's Champions League review, when we talked about Liverpool, kind of pointed out, I think we were all making this point, but I'll give credit to Graham for basically like like, yes, they looked very good in the Champions League, but that was with like Salah on the bench. And the question is, like, when he comes back in, do the same issues kind of appear again? Was that them figuring things out, or was that them getting a good result with the players that they had in that game, but they hadn't really found lasting conclusions? This result would indicate that they still have not found lasting conclusions, because though Salah scores, it's not the best game from him. I don't think it's the best game from many Liverpool players who, again, just looked a little bit rusty or a little bit out of sorts. Virgil van Dijk concedes that penalty, which I did not think was a penalty until VAR showed that it probably was. Still very close.
Do you know what I think happened there? Sorry to jump in. I think the referee gives a foul for the free kick, because we all know there's a lower bar for free kicks than there is for penalties.
Agreed.
It shouldn't be that way, but it is. He gives the foul for the free kick, and then VAR shows it as being in the box, and is a little bit sheepish in, if I've given this foul for a free kick and it's actually inside the box, I have to give a penalty now. When if he'd seen that in real time, he probably wouldn't have given it. I think that's what happened there.
Yeah, and then by counterpoint, Danny Carvajal can just shove somebody in the back as they're dribbling in the box, and that's not a penalty. That's fine. So it's a confusing one, what constitutes a penalty and where. But in this case, it ends up being the penalty. It ends up being a well-taken penalty at that. But it's just Virgil van Dijk, again, just looking cranky. He just looks mad. And I can't help but see a player who knows how good this team can be and knows what level they can be playing at. And like, I feel like everybody who's played soccer has had this, be it at amateur level or rec league or whatever. When you win like 2 or 3 games in a row and your team is playing really well, and then you have that game where it's just nothing's clicking, it's frustrating because nothing's clicking, but it's also frustrating because you know, like, that you can play that pass, you can make that decision. Why are we playing so bad? And I just feel like more and more we see that frustration and consternation from Virgil van Dijk that does not help the Liverpool defense.
He's probably angry that he's still having to play alongside Milos Kerkez, who, look, maybe I'm slightly biased on this point.
Goal scorer Milos Kerkez, thank you very much.
Well, yeah, true. There's also a lot of other things that he did in this game less well. I honestly don't really understand why Andy Robertson isn't starting for Liverpool at this point. I know he's not perfect. He is sort of coming down the other side of the mountain, and he does make mistakes. But in Frankfurt, I thought he was really quite good and had that excellent assist, and so they take him out of the team again. And we saw the same old Milos Kerkez, who was very erratic. So, yeah, there are maybe things that Slot could do to steady the ship, but we aren't really seeing them right now.
We are not. Tough times at Anfield. Also a big loss for Manchester City. Villa got a 1-0 win over the aforementioned Matty Cash with a very nice strike from outside the ball from a short corner routine. Villa have won 3 consecutive home league games against Man City for the first time since 1975. Erling Haaland, that massive fraud, has failed to score in his second game this season. Also interesting from this game ridiculous. That Jadon Sancho... yeah, it is, yeah. Jadon Sancho came on as a sub, and then got subbed off again. That's not a good look for anybody, unfortunately. But the worst look of anything from this game, nay, from this weekend,
correct,
nay, from the Premier League in general,
You're right.
Man City's kits.
Yep.
The worst kits ever. I say maybe Southampton's pink and yellow ones from last season were god-awful. This one, I think, might take the biscuit.
But
it's
Ryan,
garbage.
they're a callback to the misty grayness of Mancunian falls and winters combined with the electric lights of the sprawling city. That doesn't do it for you?
The people of Manchester wish it was a throwback. That's very much present day for that city.
It's a reference to?
It was the same grey as the invisible Man United kit from the 90s where they famously changed it at half-time because it was so bad.
Is that why? That's why Haaland flew into that post at the end of the game? Just because he couldn't see the difference?
But yeah, there we go. Villa with a big win. Congrats.
The Cash goal for a moment, if we can. I've never seen a goal that looked more chaotic and then slowed down, looked more intentional. Because the first touch looks like
he said it wasn't. Sorry to jump in. Afterwards, he said, no, it wasn't planned. We just kind of improv that.
Well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But even his first touch, they said like, oh, a splendid first touch or whatever in the commentary. And you see it, and it looks like he's overhit it, going back the other way, and then he's kind of scrambling to make up for it. But in reality, it is a bouncing, skipping ball driven at him that he controls well enough to then hit with his second touch. It just looks so chaotic, but it ends up being a really well-controlled ball and then an even better finish. Nice work from Matty Cash. Nice work from Villa. And the Jadon Sancho sub is funny, Ryan. From what I read, it's basically because Unai Emery wants to preserve the 1-0 win, and at that point, he doesn't need Jadon Sancho on to kind of stretch the defense and not create goals, so brings him off. He is kind of the sacrificial lamb, but definitely not a good look from Sancho, who then I think didn't high-five his teammate and just kind of walked off with the Charlie Brown music that Graham appreciates so much.
Yeah, I would do too, to be fair. Very good. Man United 4, Brighton 2. Brian and Mbeumo scoring twice in this one. A bit of a late scare for Brighton coming back in this one as well. Nice opener from Mr. Cunha as well. Man United have won 3 games in a row for the first time since February 2024. 3 consecutive wins under Ruben Amorim. Everything's going to be great from now on. Flowers and roses ahead for Manchester United.
Do you hate Manchester United more than any other team? It is that introduction is insane, Ryan.
I was going to come in with whisper it, but it's something happening with Manchester United because they were genuinely very good in this game, and we praised them a lot for winning at Anfield last week. So,
Taylor,
not convinced,
I'm an impartial voice on the Total Soccer Show, but yes.
Yeah, you saved them till the last in the Premier League running order, and then you introduce them with who cares? Taylor, do you? No? All right, moving on.
We talk about this team a lot on the TSS, and maybe we should find some good calls to do so.
And it's always been positive, and it's always been from a perspective of they've done something positive, yeah.
Because they've been so great.
That's what I was going to say. For balance, surely when they start doing some things well, we should highlight that. Yeah. And it just seems certain that Brighton would win this, right? Partly because they had won 7 of their last 8 games against Manchester United, which is a ridiculous record. But also just because that's the way it's been for Manchester United, right? After beating Liverpool last week, I was sure that they would lose this game, but they didn't. And also, and I can't remember the last time I said this, Manchester United were very, very dangerous and impressive in an attacking sense in this game, and they were well worth the 4 goals that they scored. And somehow they made it harder than it needed to be with the period at the end where Brighton pulled it back to 3-2. But collectively and individually, I thought Manchester United were very good in this game. The right side is really dangerous with Mbeumo. How do we say that? He's been in the Premier League for 5 seasons.
It's Mbeumo seems to be what people have landed on.
Brian. There we go. Brian and Ahmad on the same wing. That's working really well. They had the overlap against De Kuyper. And then I think that front 3 of Cunha, Sesko, Mbeumo, and then you add in Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. There's real signs of something growing there, like some fluidity, and even in midfield. They highlighted this on Match of the Day. It was Michael Carrick who was on Match of the Day on Saturday night, obviously a former midfielder, so he was interested in what they were doing in midfield. And he was highlighting how Cunha was dropping in and how he's made a big difference since he's come into the team. And then also Luke Shaw pushing into midfield out of possession against the ball, as seemingly Michael Carrick was saying, making a big difference. I have to say, I didn't notice that myself in the game, but he would know more than me. That then leaves Man United in a back 4, but they're higher up the pitch to defend against the ball, and the balance just seems a lot better all of a sudden for Manchester United. So definitely reasons for them to be positive. And coming out of that Grimsby game where I very publicly said that's it, it's done for Ruben Amorim, he and this team are giving me reason to reconsider.
Yep. And Burma especially has just been so much fun, is so electric. That second goal for him that he just lasers in. It's a really difficult finish, and it's a really pretty finish at that. And he has been so electric for this team, not since Bruno first has the run he has in the 2020 era. Have I enjoyed a Manchester United player this much and just wanted him to succeed, enjoyed when he was on the ball, looked forward to seeing what he could do in possession, attacking on his own or getting on the end of something. I really am liking him. It's fun to have Manchester United be a solid team for me, a Manchester United fan. But mostly at this point, I think we all care about the dude getting a haircut. And we're 2 games away. He deserves a haircut. I look forward to him finally, hopefully getting to feel the cool breeze on the back of his head again. But first, they have to get past Nottingham Forest. And Graham, that feels like a game that Manchester United could find a way to lose.
Yeah, it does.
Although, I don't know, Big Ange not. Has he been sacked yet? I forget. Or Sean Dyche, excuse me. Has Sean Dyche been sacked yet? That needs to be
yet,
a website.
But there's still time. Yeah,
okay.
There's a full 7 days before that game, so he could be gone.
Yeah.
And last point on this one I wanted to make, just because it deserves to be made. I don't think there's a player that has more spite towards Manchester United than Danny Welbeck. He scores every time they play, I swear. And in this one, he hits a beautiful free kick, doesn't really celebrate. I don't think that's because it's a former club. I think that's because they're still losing. But he is inevitable. He will score against Manchester United no matter what. They could have 1% possession, and he would find a way to score. Credit to him.
Yeah, I think Salah's the only player in the last 10 years who has more goals against Manchester United than Danny Welbeck. So that's very true. I think that's eight goals now he's scored against them.
That's crazy.
Good stat. Very good. All right, plenty more of the Premier League to come in Weekend Review Extra. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show if you'd like to hear that. Just going to make a note of the timestamp so I can cut this Man United game out of this edit. Very good. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to Italy and Germany and much more. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the Weekend Review. Let's go to Italy, where Napoli have bounced back from that 6-2 Champions League loss with a 3-1 win over Inter. De Bruyne converting a penalty before, unfortunately, going off injured in this one. Scott McTominay and Andre Frank Zambo-Anguissa with the other goals. I did enjoy McTominay, Graham, latching onto that lovely 90s hoofed ball from Spinazzola over the top, and McTominay afterwards saying like it was hoofed so high that he lost the ball in the floodlights. He just basically had to guess where it was and latched onto it and had a nice finish too. Very good.
Yes, it's some strike. I thought that goal was brilliant from McSauce or McFratame or whatever he's been called these days. That's 4 goals in 3 games. McTominay, who did have a slightly sluggish start to the season, and I will be interested to see if McTominay actually benefits from De Bruyne being out of this team. It seems like he's now going to have a period on the sidelines. I thought he was doing that you see players. It's been a modern thing. Players, particularly old players, doing the old man celebration after they score a goal, where they hold, and I'm like, oh, Kevin De Bruyne, you joker. Oh no, wait, no, he's actually injured and is coming off, and is probably he is actually old, yeah. But I mean, the thing with De Bruyne and McTominay is it's been a slightly awkward fit, the two of them in the one team, because it's meant that one of the two has to be out in the wing where they can't really affect the game as much. So will McTominay get into better eras when he doesn't have to play around De Bruyne? I actually thought in this match already we saw McTominay having more of an impact with De Bruyne off the pitch, so that will be interesting to watch. In terms of the game itself, I've got to be honest, I didn't think there was all that much between the two teams on the whole. I know some of the possession numbers might have been like a game state thing where Napoli shut up shop after scoring the third goal to make it 3-1. But if you look at the numbers, Inter's XG was higher. They had more than double the number of shots of Napoli. They had more big chances. So they'll probably be a little bit aggrieved that they've come away from this game with nothing. At the same time, though, it felt like a typical Conte performance where Napoli made it difficult for Inter through the middle of the pitch, and then when they had the ball, they would spread the pitch through the fullbacks, and then they would play through that space centrally that they then created in quick transition, which is what McTominay did for his goal with that run from deep and then the pass over the top that finds him. And then Anguissa did it in a kind of different way where he just dribbles through everyone in through the middle of the pitch, and that was maybe even a better goal than McTominay's. And then when they needed it, Napoli had just the right amount of control, I thought, in possession to relieve some pressure. This is where Billy Gilmour is so good at doing that, and he had more touches of the ball than any other Napoli player besides, I think it was Di Lorenzo. So I wouldn't say Napoli were meaningfully the better team, but the principles of their play were there, and that was enough for them to get the win.
Very good. Napoli on 18 points at the top. A bad weekend for Lazio. No, a good weekend for Lazio. A bad one for Juventus. Lazio with the 1-0 win over the old lady. Toma Barzic with the goal there, making Juventus look basic. That joke looks better written down. Juve haven't won a match since September 13th. That was their 4th straight match without scoring a goal. And as a result, earlier today, as we record, Igor Tudor has been given his goodbyes from Turin. Hey,
Ryan.
Yo.
I've got a joke for you. It's an early 90s reference that I think you'll appreciate. Or you'll be silent on and I'll still laugh to myself because I laughed at myself when I came up with it.
Here we go.
To paraphrase Arnold Schwarzenegger from Kindergarten Cop, Ryan, do you know who's in charge of Juventus? It's not the Tudor.
Wow, that was really worth it. That was
Listeners can't see, but I have both hands in the air.
Well done.
Because I am the champion of this episode. You're both
That's great.
very welcome.
Well done, Taylor. That was a worthy interjection.
How are we going to
Juventus
follow on from that?
I don't know. I think we should end the show, frankly. That was very good. Bad times
I'd
for
like
Juventus.
to see you two do better. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I don't even try, so there you go.
He's effortless, is our Graham. But I'm not sure if Juventus have announced a new coach as we record, but
No,
I'm sure it'll be someone from that merry-go-round of coaches that they all share in.
Spalletti,
Well,
right? That's the lead candidate right now.
Right.
Well, the one that I read earlier was Raffaele Palladino, who was the Fiorentina manager last season. So maybe not someone from that merry-go-round.
What kind of this?
Not this again. But yeah, looking at just a very quick listicle article that Ryan Bailey might have written. Are you still doing those, Ryan?
Ooh,
I've got Spalletti, Mancini, Zidane. Yeah, so it wouldn't be overly surprising if they did go to the carousel.
Very good. Roma, elsewhere in Rome, Roma are joint top with Napoli after a 1-0 win at Sassuolo. Paulo Dybala with a lovely goal. And if Man City's kits were the worst of the weekend, Roma's lovely white with the green trim, the old school crest. Molto buono. Very good indeed from Roma. Very nice indeed. And Atalanta won. Cremonese won. Guess who got a goal in this one and did a backflip to celebrate? That's right, Jamie Vardy done a goal in Serie A. Congratulations to Jamie Vardy. Hey, Taylor, let's go to the Bundesliga, shall we? Where Bayern Munich had a 3-0 win at Borussia Mönchengladbach, a 13th win in 30 matches across all competitions for Bayern. But that fraud, Harry Kane, was not among the scorers.
He was not. Leonard Karl, however, who makes us all feel things, was. He scored the third for Bayern, who scored all three of their goals in the second half after Jens Kostrup was sent off in the first. The top 7 teams all winning in the Bundesliga this weekend. That's weird, right? It's weird for the top 7 to all just win. It felt very much like, oh, okay, a good weekend then for the top 7 in the table.
Yep.
Okay. Don't see it often.
Yep.
But am I right, though? Or is that just kind of standard?
No, I think you are
It
right.
feels odd.
I just don't have any data to back that up. It might not be right, but
Statistically, one of the top 7 should have played one of the other. So, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what makes it extra strange. Less strange is that Gladbach remain bottom of the table. Joe Scally and Gio Reyna combined for 21 minutes. So they got that going for him. Speaking of Americans who had unpleasant weekends, Noki Banks and Augsburg conceded 6 to second-placed Leipzig in a brutal affair for Augsburg. Banks had a rough one, but it could be worse. He could be his goalkeeper, Finn Dahmen, who had as many saves as errors leading to goals. That would be 2 each. But the big news, sound the alarms, light the beacons. Eintracht Frankfurt have kept a clean sheet, gentlemen.
What?
St. Pauli boldly managed to go where so few teams boldly go, goalless against Frankfurt, who got a 2-0 win courtesy of Jonathan Burkhardt brace. I cannot believe it. They've kept a clean sheet. I also cannot believe how much I am enjoying Batumina Toure of Hoffenheim. They are still 7th in the table. They got a comfortable 3-0 win, but Toure had a brace of assists, both of which were excellent and did not just showcase his flat-out speed, which he continues to have. They showcased his ability to play ball. He threads the needle twice for the second and third goals, plays in a teammate from like a tight, not even a tight angle, because I think both of them are more central, but it's just really good vision to spot. For the first one, he spots his teammate kind of at the back post and one times it back across for like the tap in, but it's really good vision and he does a good job to keep his teammate on side. For the second, he just plays through like 4 defenders to find Kramaric, who then scores. But it was a good sequence for Hoffenheim, a good result for Hoffenheim. So it's Bayern, Leipzig, Stuttgart, and Dortmund in the Champions League spots after 8 games, with Leverkusen only missing out on goal difference. Mainz, Heidenheim, and Gladbach are your bottom 3.
Where are Bayern Munich dropping points in the Bundesliga this season?
Once they win in like February, then they put
that's probably about right.
Team.
But I'm joking, but also not joking.
When they rotate for the Champions League, probably.
It feels like an unbeaten league season is very much on the cards for them this year, and even more so. What team was it? Was it last season or a couple seasons ago? Was it PSV? Do you remember they had that run where people were genuinely questioning, could they win every single game this season? It's never happened. I don't think it will happen for Bayern Munich, but this has to be like the most feasible it seemed in a Big 5 European league, maybe ever.
Leverkusen did it, right? When
they were unbeaten. They were unbeaten. But
you're saying
completely win
okay.
every game,
maximum points.
They seem so much better than everyone in. Look, this is a league that as I've admitted on this show, just because of the broadcast times and the broadcast rights in the UK, I watch the least of the Bundesliga, the other top 5 leagues. But in my ignorance, it still seems like Bayern are so far ahead of everyone else that they could potentially just win every game. But obviously that probably won't happen.
They are not far away from having a better goal difference than the next 4 teams behind them combined. They have a plus 26 goal difference. Leipzig have plus 7, Stuttgart plus 6, Dortmund plus 8, Leverkusen plus 7. So add that up, and I think you're getting 13, 21, 28. So 2 goals difference between Bayern Munich and the next 4 teams. So maybe that is further evidence that, yeah, they're quite good, Graham. It does feel like it'll be maybe like rotation ahead of a Champions League game or the hangover after a bad Champions League loss or something. I mean, but they've already beaten Dortmund. I don't feel like Leipzig ever find a way to cause significant problems for Bayern. So maybe it's Stuttgart, maybe Leverkusen end up putting something together. But I don't know, man. It'd be a fascinating one if they won all 34. That would be kind of incredible.
Yeah. No, you're onto something, Graham. But they could go the whole season of winning every game in the Bundesliga, just like Ruben Amorim's definitely going to be fired before Christmas after that Grimsby game. Things never change in this game. So
put your money on that. Yeah, it'll be just as safe as your Amorim bet.
Yeah, all right. I think that's going to wrap it up for weekend review on this here feed. If you want more, including the Premier League games we haven't got to and a new challenger in Scotland, let's head to the bonus feed, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show to hear more on that. But for now, that does it for this feed. Taylor, by the way, I missed out a little detail about Danny Welbeck from the Man United game. Did you know his father is a bomb disposal expert? His name's Stan Welbeck. Stan Welbeck. Did I out dad joke you? Have I done it? Did I do it?
I didn't get it at first, but it's actually quite good. I thought you were going to merge it into a Jadon Sancho bomb squad joke, but no, you went for Stand Welbeck. Yeah.
Stand. There it is. Took me a minute. Gotcha.
You there? You got it? Very funny.
His
Very
silence says yes.
Thank you very much, Taylor Rockwell.
Thank you, my friend, for that joke and so many other things.
Thank you, Graham Ruthven.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
And thank you, listener, for joining us on this feed. We'll be back on the feed very shortly. But for now, bye.